y'all doing today? Today, y'all, I'm being a little reminiscent. I'm thinking about my childhood and things I ate and just things we did. It's summertime, and in the summer, we would go and pack up in the car and just have bologna sandwiches and pop and drive through the country, and we'd have our fishing poles in the back, and wherever we wanted to stop at, we'd stop and fish, pick blackberries, and have our bologna sandwiches and our pops. And it got me thinking of some of the things that my dad and my mama used to make all the time. My dad did a lot of cooking when I was a kid. My mom did too, but my dad made this simple Appalachian type food. Most generally, that's what he cooked. And this is a recipe that he made all the time, and maybe it was because it was so easy and he could throw it together, and we would use it at lunchtime, breakfast time, even dinner, because my dad wouldn't eat a meal unless he had bread. He always had to have bread, whether it be sliced white bread, biscuits, or this bread. And this bread is a Shanty Boat Bread. And what it is, it's kind of like a biscuit dough, but you cook it on the stove. You cook it in a cast iron pan on top of the stove. It's really, really easy, and I don't know why I haven't made it for so long, because it is an easy recipe, but we don't eat a lot of bread typically here. So, but today I was, like I said, reminiscent, so I decided to make it. And another reason, y'all, why it got me thinking about making it is everything that's going on right now. With the prices of groceries, they are outrageous, totally outrageous. But I was thinking back in Appalachia, and when my grandparents grew up, and in their parents, my grandmother grew up in a coal camp. And I remember talking to her, and y'all, they made do with very little. Her mom and my mama, they would eat pretty much all week long. She told me they would have eggs, bacon, biscuits, cornbread, grits, and that was pretty much, and beans, pinto beans, and that was pretty much their staple, Monday through Saturday. And she said on Sunday they would kill a chicken, and they'd have chicken, with their potatoes, so they would have potatoes too. But basically that's how they lived. That's what they lived on all the time. And they didn't have all the, the other things. In the summertime, they would have a garden, they could pull on and have their green beans and their tomatoes, and they would put all that up. And I remember my dad telling me a story about his grandma and how they would go all around the little community there and pick apples, and she'd bring the apples home and slice them all up and take window screens and put the apples out on window screens, to dry, so she could, and then she'd thread them on a piece of thread, he said, and just hang them up in their house. And speaking of their house, my grandma told me their house was just a tiny 2-room house, and there was 8 kids that lived in it, plus my great grandma and great grandpa. And that's how they lived. They cooked them with wood, with the wood stove. They heated with the wood stove. So things were very, very, very simple back then, and they made do. Everyone was fed. And even when I was younger, I always wondered why my mama would not eat. She wouldn't eat things like spaghetti. She didn't like pizza. She didn't like any of what we would call the modern type convenience foods. Her favorite meal still was, the beans and the cornbread and fried chicken and things like that. She never would deviate, out of that box, because Appalachian cooking, y'all, is just so simple. It's just basically what you have around you, and what you can grow and what you can have at home is pretty much what you ate. And I have another story. This is story time. I'm going to get to this recipe, but another story. I remember going on a walk with my grandma, and she would be just picking what I thought were weeds, but it wasn't. She was picking mustard greens and dandelion greens and all that, and then she would take them home and put them on the stove with a little bit of bacon grease and cook those up, and that's what she had for her lunch. And both my mamas were like that. My other mama, she had 9 kids, and she was a country cook, y'all. Beside her stove was a bucket of lard, and she cooked everything in lard before it was everyone used to say, how unhealthy, the beef tallow and the pig tallow and stuff is not healthy. My grandparents all lived almost to, late into their 90s, and that's how they ate. But now, you know, the tallows are coming back into sour. People are saying they're healthy, but that's how they ate. You know, they had the biscuits, the gravy, the eggs, and potatoes, and I don't know, just really simple food. But anyway, enough of that. I'm going to show you how to make this recipe. So let me get the camera over here so you can see it. But y'all, it is so easy. Okay, take your bowl. All I have is all-purpose flour today. So that's 2 cups of all-purpose flour. To that, I use this Bakewell cream, and I use 2 teaspoons of it, and 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and a teaspoon of salt. So we'll put all that in there, and I'm just gonna mix it. I'm using my hands, y'all. Using my hands. So you got all that. You don't need to sift it. You just put it in there. And to that, I'm going to add a tablespoon of melted butter. You can use any type of fat. My dad would use bacon grease, and you could use bacon grease, olive oil, any type of fat you want. A tablespoon of that. And here's the tricky part. You want a cup of warm water, but you're not going to add it all at once. You're going to add a little bit at a time and just kind of mix the dough. Because y'all, depending on the weather, when you bake breads and biscuits, pie crust, you can add, on one day you could add a cup of water. The next day it could be a half a cup of water, just depending on the humidity and everything outside. So I'm going to add a little bit more. I started with a half a cup. So I add a little bit more. Do that. It might take the whole cup. Just a little bit more here. You want this dough on the wet side, whereas biscuit dough you don't really want super wet. But this type of dough for Shanty Boat Bread, you want wet. So there it is. You want it wet. I'm throwing it everywhere. Alright, I think that's about good. Okay, that's how I want it. Now let's take it over to the stove top. Alright, y'all, when you get your skillet really good and warm, and you would add some bacon grease, but I don't have any bacon grease, so I'm just going to add just a tad of vegetable oil. Just a little bit, probably a half a teaspoon. And kind of swirl it around. This cast iron pan is really old and it's really seasoned good. I'm going to get that. I'm going to get a paper towel and wipe the edges. Because wipe some oil up around the edges, because this bread's going to rise, so you don't want it to stick. Let it get warm. It's getting there. I want it to be pretty hot. And I put that in there. Okay, I think that's good. So then you take your dough and you put it down in there. Kind of spread it out a little bit. It's kind of like a pancake, y'all. There we go. Now we just watch it. And probably about 8 minutes on this side, and then we'll flip it and it'll be 8 minutes on the other side. Okay, you guys, now it's time to flip it. And that's, see, look at that. Look how brown that is. And this, you just have to be really careful and watch it that it don't burn, but it cooks. So you got to adjust your temperature a little bit. So I think I actually had it on the other side for like 5 minutes. It's actually kind of like making a big pancake, but it's not a pancake, it's bread. Y'all, this is how you know you got a well-seasoned cast iron pan. Look at this, how easy this is moving in here. It's moving so good. I covet this pan. I try not to let anyone use it for anything other than frying eggs and cornbread. That's basically all this little pan gets used for. Okay, y'all, it's getting there. It doesn't take too long. I think it's done in like under 10 minutes, and I like to try to pop it up a little bit to see if the inside's done. It's still a little bit doughy. So you want to, if it's doughy, you want to keep just flipping it. Keep flipping it because you don't want it to stay on one side too long. It'll burn. So you just got to keep kind of moving it around. I mean, technically, I guess if you wanted to, you could pop it in the oven, but my dad and Maw Maw never did that. They just always cooked it on top of the stove because it's such a quick bread. I think it's just about there because the top is starting to crack a little bit. So I think it's just about there. I don't want it to get burned. I'm going to lift it up again and see. Oh yeah, it's just about done. I think I can almost take it off there. But y'all, it just split in two. It made a perfect, like a, you know how a biscuit will split? It split in two, and it's going to keep cooking even if I take it off the heat. It's going to keep cooking. So I think here in about, I'm going to give it another minute, and then I'm just going to turn it off the heat and let it sit here in the pan for a little bit and let it keep doing its thing. All right, there it is. Okay, so let's try it. How I'm going to eat it is I've got some homemade apple butter, and I've got some butter here. So I'm just going to cut me off a little piece of it. It's fluffy. So I want to save this for dinner tonight. But I want to taste, I like it hot, where when you have your butter can melt into it. So here we go, look at that. That's kind of the texture. So cut it, and it cuts open really good. Just like a biscuit, y'all. Let me get a little piece of butter here. Can't get my butter. I'm fixing just to grab it. So put some butter right there. I'm gonna put that like that. That's what it looks like inside. Set it over there. Let my butter melt for a minute, y'all. There's my apple butter. Put a little bit of apple butter there. Look at that. Doesn't that look good? All I need is a cup of coffee. All right, let's try it. See if it's like I remembered it. Oh my gosh, y'all. That is so good. So, so good. And Dad, he would make sandwiches with it. He'd fry bacon and put bacon on it, and he'd put eggs on it. I like it with apple butter and butter, but you can put anything you want on it. It is very similar to a biscuit, and it is so good. So, so, so good. I'm going to go enjoy this with a cup of coffee, y'all, because it's that good. Just how I remembered it. It's so easy. It took like 10 minutes. That was it. And I really do think I like this. This is a really good ingredient. It makes your biscuits fluffy. It makes your Shanty Boat Bread a little fluffier. Of course, my dad didn't use this. He just used self-rising flour, and you can use that. But this is good. This made it a little fluffier. So I'll have a link to this over there if you want to try it. You might already have used it. But anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to go eat this, and I'll talk to you later.